are achievers, tenacious, and courageous. Salud.
No mires para atrás, el futuro no se encuentra ahí, no se encuentra nada en el mundo que no puedas lograr, con fe lo vas a conseguir,
Buenas noches, bienvenido a Conversaciones con Ajusta Tu Corona. And today is English, so let me retract. Good evening and welcome to Conversations with Ajusta Tu Corona. My name is Lillian, known as Miss M. I am your local entrepreneur. I own Maldonado Consulting Services, where I do bookkeeping, taxes for small businesses. I also help startup businesses. I own Exceptional Me Jewelry, where I will create custom jewelry to your request. I am a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats, involved in a little bit of here and a little bit of that. And tonight we have an exciting show for you, and we're going to continue with the introductions.
Hola, mi gente. I am La Margarita, your creator and CEO of Cricket's Whisper. I never mentioned that it is an accessory, apparel, and coffee line. It is Cricket's Whisper's Me Time, where it reminds you to silence the voices in your head so you can listen to the whisper of hope. I am a spiritual coach, creator, author, writer, artist. I am La Margarita, y eso dice mucho. Bienvenido.
I am Francelena Rodriguez. I go by Fur, which is the four initials of my name. It's also the name to my digital marketing services business, where I help entrepreneurs, business owners manage their social media. I am also a realtor here in Florida, Central Florida, as well as Connecticut, Southern Connecticut. And I am the co-host to Ajusta Tu Corona with these beautiful ladies.
Welcome.
Welcome,
everybody.
Good evening, Richard. So nice to have you here. This is my child who I don't speak to all week, but he never misses a beat by watching us on our show on Thursday nights. Tonight's show is going to have to do with life insurance, why you should have it, is it easily obtainable? It is extremely important. We have a guest by the name of Rachel Romero. She will be coming on shortly to tell you the different aspects of it, how she got started in the business, and how easily it is to obtain it. So while we wait for Rachel, let's talk about current events, which I know nothing of because I am in the process of moving and I do not even have a TV. I do not know what's going on in the world. I missed my friend's birthday yesterday because, Facebook is the reminder and I didn't even go on to social media to see anything. So that's what I'm going through right now.
Well, for me, you won't hear anything because I don't listen to the news. What current events, unless Richard wants to enlighten us with anything. But yeah, no. All I know that it was hot here in Florida today.
Yeah, it was hot here as well.
It's hot. I don't know which glasses to wear because I feel like my face is hot. Vale.
Hello, Rachel. Welcome. Rachel, you've been on this 2 Thursdays in a row. To what do I owe this pleasure? So nice to see you. Okay, ladies, we have our guest, so I am going to bring her on. Oh, Richie says, pray for the souls in Spain from La Palma volcano.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, Richard, I know the chief of police in La Palma. I met him in Cartagena, so he's been keeping me updated on that. Yeah, he's the chief of police in Las Palmas, that's where he's from. And then my friend who lives in Tenerife told me, the air's heavy in Tenerife, but it's nothing wow, So it's la gente en La
Is the,
Palma.
is the lava really going into the ocean?
It is, but I believe it's damaged a lot of properties as well, from what I remember.
Mhm.
All right, so here is our guest. Let's bring her on. Welcome, Rachel. Everyone, can you hear me okay? Loud and clear. So this is Rachel Romero. We happen to know each other for about 17 years now. So we go a long way back. That's another one that I can say. Those who know me love me, because as you can see, my friendships last forever. So Rachel is going to tell us a little bit about herself. And please, anybody in the audience, if you have any questions regarding her topic today, please chip in right away and let us know what you're thinking.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Lillian. I am truly honored to be here. So happy to meet Margarita in Francia. I do. I normally replay your programs because I have a commitment on Thursday nights. But I was happy enough that this week I was able to move those around. So I am so happy to be here. Like Lillian said, we've known each other. We used to work together. So just to give you a little background of myself, we used to work in Norwalk, Connecticut. And I met because I was doing Mary Kay, and Lillian was a coworker, and she actually became my first consultant in Mary Kay. I don't know if Lillian remembers this, but I will never forget the first day that I went to her house to show her all the products and everything. And little Jacob was sitting on the floor, and Lillian and I, we were just, contemplating all the products and all that. And all of a sudden, I see Jacob playing with my lipstick, eating the lipstick. You remember that, Lillian?
No.
Oh my goodness. I will never forget. It was the funniest thing, but I didn't care. It was no big deal, but it was just the funniest thing. And that's how I met. Actually, we met through work, but that's how our friendship even became stronger. Mm-hmm. And it's funny how you say that, Lillian, because I was just going to say, friendships like Lillian, once you meet her, you become friends forever. She's one of those. I don't have many friends that I can say that about, and she's one of them. And I'm not saying this because I'm here, but she is truly special. And I know you guys know that already. So thank you. I'm really honored and thankful for you guys to allow me to be on this platform, because I know how impactful your program is and the meaning behind your program. And it's something that I really enjoy. I love. And so to be able to be a part of it, just it's really, really humbling. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about life insurance. Perhaps what is it? Maybe I'm not sure if your audience knows the difference between whole life and term life. But before I get into that, I want to share my story as to why I became. And if you see me looking down, it's because, with the nerves, you have to write notes down so I don't forget. But, I've actually been I'm in the state of North Carolina now, and I've been doing life insurance for almost 5 years now. And I'm licensed in over 15 states. So just because I'm here in North Carolina, that doesn't mean that I can't help any of your audience. I love what I do. And the reason why is very important for me to help families understand the importance of life insurance is because it all started in 2011. My father passed away unexpectedly. He fell from 2 stories high. My father at that time was 75 years old, and he was still painting. I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut originally. So if you guys will know my dad. He was Felix the painter, and a lot of people knew him.
What part of town?
I'm sorry? East side.
The east side?
On the east side. We grew up on the east side, and my father worked for the housing authority. He was a general contractor, but a lot of people knew him. He was always with a can of beer, so you knew who my father was. But he was a very hard worker, and we got the unexpected call that he fell. He ended up in the hospital. He was in a coma for a while. He was able to come out of the coma, and in 4 months, my father passed away from a cardiac arrest. What that did for myself and my family was really understand how important it is to have something in place. My father did not have life insurance, and we had to figure out how we were going to raise money to be able to bury him respectfully in a dignified way. And so, having said that, I am an example of what it is when you have that emotional impact. You don't really want to worry about how are we going to take care of this. You want to make sure that you have something in place so that you can grieve the right way. You have time to heal. And so that made me think, I would never want to go through this again. I don't want my children, my husband to go through this. And I got an insurance on myself. Years down the road, I came across, on how to obtain my license and become an agent, and that's why I'm here today. So I've been doing it for almost 5 years, and that's kind of my story. But I wanted to, and feel free if you need to interject, please do. I wanted to explain the difference between whole life and term life, because maybe some people are wondering, well, what's the difference?
Absolutely. We have somebody that already asked the question.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so whole life basically is coverage. It will cover you when you pass away. Benefits will go to a beneficiary, whoever you assign, and it covers you for the rest of your life. That's exactly what it is. The one of the main differences is that whole life, for the most part, is more expensive than term life, right? It could be a little more expensive, and obviously because you're covered for a longer time, you're going that will never go away. You'll always have it as long as you pay your premiums. When it comes to term life, on the other hand, term life is exactly that. It could be a term or a period of time that you're covered for. It could be 10, 15, 20, 25, and up to 30 years. And so the main question that I normally get is, well, what is going to happen if I get term life after it's done, right? Because you want to continue the coverage, but what can I do after it's done? And so depending on your age, there are different recommendations that I do based on that. But for the most part, you can convert it. It can convert into a whole life, or at that time, depending on your health, we can reevaluate and you can get another term life. Why would you get another term life instead of converting it into a whole life when that term finishes? Well, the reason is because it could be much cheaper. So as long as your health is good, we can put you in another term, right? And not only that, but our lives change, and perhaps when you're younger and you have children, you get term life, number one, because it's cheaper. Number two, you want to make sure you have something in place to, so your kids can be taken care of, right? Perhaps when you're older, we can look at it in a different way, because now your children are old enough where they're taking care of their own families. And maybe you just need a little bit of insurance, just enough for you to cover your burial expenses. And so I am not just a quote person. Lillian knows this. I do one-on-ones, and I really design your policy based on your needs. Not on my needs, not on my wants, on what's best for you. And I will be giving you the best recommendation for you at that time. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit the difference between, in a nutshell, whole life and term. The other difference in term is that you get benefits that you may not necessarily get with a whole life. Let me go back a little bit. I do regular life insurance. I do mortgage protection. I do final expense or burial expenses. So mortgage protection, life insurance is what we just discussed, right? Mortgage protection is important to have if you own your home, because if anything were to happen to either person that's on that mortgage, then you will not lose your home. It will cover your mortgage if so you desire. So, it's a great benefit because, as you know, life happens and anything can happen. And when you have only one income, then being able to have something in place is going to help the other person. So sometimes there's cases that we may design the policy where maybe, we won't be able to cover the full amount. However, if we get half of the amount, now if you're left by yourself, you can at least pay those payments because it's going to be a lower payment. Hopefully that makes sense. So we do the mortgage protection, final expense, burial expense, as I mentioned. Final expense, depending if you want a regular burial, can cost you anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000. It could be a lot more, depending what you want done. If you want cremation, it could be anywhere between $7,000 and $10,000. Some people may get it a little less. Again, it all depends on your needs and wants. But it's also something that you can have in place and have that peace of mind. Now, I don't know if you want to ask me anything, Lillian, or I could just go on. This is a topic that I hold dear to my heart, and so I want to make sure that
You're passionate about it, I can tell. Richard is asking, if you became disabled, can you collect on a whole life policy?
So whole life will cover you if you become terminally ill. So if you were diagnosed for, and these are, let me put a disclaimer here. These are the policies that I have, that I'm contracted. So basically, I am an independent contractor and I have multiple carriers. What that does, it gives me the opportunity to be able to put you with the best carrier possible based on your needs. Okay. So the ones that I have a hold of or I'm able to contract with, if you are terminally ill, if they give you 12 months or less to live, then you're able to get that policy or a percentage of that policy while you're living. And that's a great question, because I always tell people that life insurance is more important to have, right, while you're living than when you're dead. I don't know if that, you're going to say, well, of course you can't have life insurance when you're dead. But what I mean is the benefits of having life insurance, if you have a life changing situation, if your life changes, drastically, all of a sudden things change, like Richard was saying, if you become critically ill, for instance, term life insurance will be what will cover for that. So term life insurance has the benefits of critical, chronic, and terminal illness. Okay, so just to go over a little bit about that. Chronic illness could be, chronic illness, if you can't perform two of your activities of daily living. So that means eating, dressing, getting into and out of a bed or a chair, taking a bath or a shower, and using the toilet. So if you can't perform two of those things, and this is not for when you become old, okay, or older, I should say, right? It can happen to any of us young. You can, if you get into an accident, right, and you can no longer, you're in a coma, or you can no longer perform any of those on your own. You need help eating, you need help bathing. Doesn't matter the age, it will cover you. And that's not additional coverage that comes with all of my policies, that you don't have to pay extra for those. Okay. Critical illness. Critical will cover you if you have a heart attack, stroke, any major organ failure, any kidney failure, any major burns, dementia, Alzheimer's, ALS, any life-threatening cancer, any kidney failure. It will cover you, and the companies will give you a percentage. I have some states that they give up to 94% of your policy. So the remaining of the policy will still stay in place. You don't lose that. The beneficiary will get that if you pass, which is a great benefit.
And this is only 12 months prior, or this is as soon as they're diagnosed?
So the only one that's 12 months is the terminal illness, which is also included in the term products, not only the whole life, but also the term. And that's if your doctor diagnoses you and gives you 12 months or less to live. Then you'll able to, there's paperwork involved, which that's where I come in. Hopefully, no one in this platform will need that, but it's there available. And then you can tap into your policy, get the percentage, out of the policy, and then the remainder will stay, for when you pass. And then the other two, the critical and chronic illness, is also available. I believe the critical, and I'll have to check because every insurance is a little different, every carrier. You have to be critically and chronic for 6 months consecutive. Okay, in order for them to consider that and et cetera.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Let me see. What else can I? We also have return of premium. Now, this product is not for everyone. It's geared towards someone that's younger and healthy. And I always tell people the best time to get life insurance is when you're healthy and when you and the younger you are, obviously. One, because the premiums will be much cheaper, it will be less, and also because you're healthier and therefore you would get a better approval, right? And better ranking of the approval as well. We have return of premium, which means it is a term product, and what that is most of them are either 25 years or 30-year term, and if you don't pass away, you get all the premiums that you've paid in that lifetime, you get it back. So it's a wonderful product for someone that's young and healthy and that's thinking, well, I've wasted all this money, because, the young ones think that they will lose it, right? But here's an opportunity. And what can you do 25 years or 30 years from now? Maybe it's a down payment for a home. Maybe you want to send your kids to college, and now you have a little chunk of money there that you don't lose. If you elect not to use it, you can actually convert it into a whole life, and you will no longer need to pay premiums on that policy, but you'll be covered for the rest of your life. So those are the two benefits of that, which is wonderful.
It is wonderful.
That is great.
Yeah. Any questions for me?
There's no questions from the customers, but I did have a question. Can you, and it has to come back to me because it slipped my mind as I was talking to you. So when you spoke before about mortgage, is that a separate insurance, or is that included in your life insurance policy?
So mortgage insurance is a term that we use. It's still essentially a life insurance. Okay. But it's a term that we use for folks that want to cover, that their goal is to make sure that their house is covered and the kids won't have to worry or, move out of your house if you were to pass. And therefore it gives the beneficiary the option to collect that money and pay off the mortgage. The good thing about it is that the mortgage protection programs that I do are very different than what used to be mortgage protection years ago. Mortgage protection years ago, and although I can still provide that policy, I choose not to, and I don't want to confuse you. Mortgage protection years ago used to be as your mortgage went down, your death benefit will also come down. Well, that still exists. However, I prefer putting my my clients in a regular life insurance that's going to cover their mortgage. But even if they pay it 10 years on the road, and now they have $50,000 paid on this house, instead of them not getting the full, say, 250,000, right, that they would get, instead of getting the 200,000 that they would get because they already paid 50,000, for instance, for a $250,000 home, they will still get the full amount. Okay, so just to reiterate, mortgage protection will cover your home if you wish to, right? But whatever you've already paid on that mortgage goes in your pocket. You stay with it. You don't lose it, which is really good.
It is.
I reached out to Rachel a while ago because a lot of us happen to have insurance through our jobs, and you're paying for it through your employer, and then when you leave your employer, you end up with nothing. So I learned this from my dad, who we were putting their affairs in order for their burial and their plots and all of that. And we found out that my dad didn't have burial insurance, but my mom had it. So we asked him, Dad, why does mom have it and you don't have it? And he said, because when I worked all those years and I retired, I lost it with my job, but I had purchased one for your mom because she wasn't included. So she had a full burial plan and he didn't. So of course the siblings stepped in and we got him one, but it's so important to have, and I'm not saying it for myself, but I'm saying it from the experience that I have had with clients, from seeing family pass away and the fighting that goes on. You can leave a penny behind and people will be fighting over that penny, like, why did you get it and I didn't get it? So if you have your affairs in order, it's just such a blessing and so much easier on the entire family.
Absolutely.
I'm going to bring Francia on because she was having technical difficulties. So let's bring her back on.
My husband got, welcome back, Francia.
Thank you.
Husband got, a life insurance, a small one, after he was diagnosed with ALS. And I kept telling him to get the mortgage one, but I think I don't know, he just didn't do it. So he passed away 4.5 years ago, but yeah, it didn't cover hardly nothing. That life insurance was blocked.
Now,
First of all, I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. It's very, and that's why I say while you can get it. And Lillian pointed out something so important because I actually have a friend who was working with me at that time. I was working in an office, and she got diagnosed with breast cancer. Was able to use all of her short-term disability, long-term disability, and got to a point where she needed to come back to work. Meantime, she was getting her chemo. She could not come back to work. They were pressuring her, and sadly enough, she, lost everything that she had, all the benefits. And now, because it's recent, because some of these carriers, you have to follow certain of their guidelines, right? I'm still not able to help her get a policy because she got diagnosed so recently. And so if she had something in place, because life insurance at work is wonderful, don't get me wrong, it's wonderful. You pay very little. It covers you sometimes, 3, 4 times your salary. Every company's different. It's great. But what we need to remember is what happens if we can't return to work. Now they let us go, and then now you're stuck without being able to qualify for insurance. And that's why it's having something in place. Even if you have a small policy along with your policy at work, it's better than nothing, right? And it's secure because you can control your insurance. You don't control your the insurance that comes from your employer. She
Now,
froze.
quick question,
They do.
Rachel. And you probably covered it while I was figuring things out. So there's no way you can continue on those like I left my job at the beginning of June, but my boss had paid for a certain amount and she can't cancel it. She also collects because she's a state she's an insurance broker. She can't just cancel it because then she gets, I guess, commission from it as well, or whatever, however it works. So once that runs out, I can't continue paying it.
So I can only speak, every company's different, but the majority of companies out there may be a few. So I've come across clients that tell me, oh, but my insurance at work, if I leave, I still keep it. You want to really make sure of that because there are very, very, very little companies, if any, nowadays that will allow you to keep your life insurance. Now, I'm not talking about health insurance. I know Cobra kicks in after that, and I don't know much of that, so I won't even get into how that works. But for the most part, the insurance, once you're done, that's it. You lose your life insurance.
I called the representative right away to make sure, because I was traveling, and I also do have a small one on the side, but I wanted to make sure that I still had that one was still in effect, and he reassured me that she paid for it for a certain amount for the year or for 2 years. And then after that, I can continue paying it.
So there's an exception there, for instance. That's a perfect example of there could be, a company that will have different stipulations that would allow you to do that. But as you can see, it's also limited, right? And that's actually great if they are able to provide that for extended for even if it's a small window.
Right.
And I'm happy to hear that you have something else in addition to that in place because, as a backup, right? The other thing also is a lot of times is you have to. I do free consultations for review a policy. And I tell you why I take the time to do that. Many times I've been to a home or on Zoom. Nowadays with with COVID, I do all my appointments via Zoom. And sometimes folks think they have something and they don't. It could be because they bought it years ago, they put it aside, and they don't remember what they have and they think they have something. And then when they really need that policy, some people forget that they have a policy and the policy has expired. And so even by checking exactly what you have and also being open to looking at other policies, perhaps, or other carriers that will give you more benefits, right? Because not all of them give the benefits that I just mentioned, like the critical illness. I know, Francia, you weren't here, but we talked a little bit about the benefits of life insurance, like the terminal illness, the critical illness, and the chronic illness. And
that
so
one canceled. The accident and the because I was paying that one separately. So it was
And
accident and terminal illness.
Gotcha. Would you agree with me that if our lives change, right, dramatically, where we can no longer go to work and provide for our children or our families, wouldn't that be better to have something in place that we can tap into, right? Then not, because the group insurances do not provide, for the most part, don't provide any of those benefits. It's very, unless you pay extra, like you may have critical or accidental, that's different. But not all of them come with that. So that's why knowing what you have, it's good. It's important because you may be missing out on a great benefit. And so I do consultations. I look at your policies. Lillian knows I'm very, very confidential with I take my job very seriously. I took an oath, right? It's like doctors, we take an oath. We really, truly, respect everybody's, I have family members that they don't know that each other, that they're covered. And it's not my place to let anyone know that they have coverage. That is something that I don't discuss with anyone, right?
You mean so a family member will buy it for them and not tell them?
No, you can purchase life insurance, on someone, but they have to sign. They have to sign because the questions are on the application is for that person that's being covered. You can't answer those questions for them. They have to be the ones attesting that what they stated is true.
Mm-hmm.
And that they are who they say they are, because, yeah.
And they also, a lot of the life insurance policies want to see where your health is, right? So they sometimes perform physicals and blood work.
I'm so happy you touched on that. I almost forgot about that, because Lillian was saying in the introduction how easy it is to get life insurance. And I actually, for the most part, concentrate on helping folks get non-medical day one coverage. Sometimes I get it right away after I submit the application, where there's no medical exams. All of mine are non-medical. All of them.
Okay, and because my oldest son, he's 26, and I tried to get him life insurance, but because he did not pass the medical, because of his weight, he's a little overweight, and his age and so forth. And that also, when I was getting ready to get my 14-year-old, 13 at the time, we just found out he had a heart anomaly, and they wouldn't cover him.
Okay, I'd love to help you with that. It's funny how you say that, because I have a lot of carriers. And so my job as an underwriter is I ask tons of questions. And what that does is, while I'm asking you questions, right, it allows me to identify which carrier is the right carrier for you. Because I can have a carrier that says, listen, the maximum weight for our product is 200 pounds. And I can have, a carrier that would say, no, 300 pounds is fine. So that's where I come in. I do all the shopping, and that's why I don't do quotes. If people tell me, well, how much would it be for me to get $100,000? I don't do that. I'm not that person, because I will not be able to know, right, what you qualify, which carrier we would have the most possibility, right, of getting you approved for coverage if I don't ask all the questions that I need to check. Because although they don't do medical exams, right, as my job as an underwriter, I have to make sure I ask you the proper questions that the company is looking for to identify whether or not you get approved. And what that does is I eliminate that denial, because if I see this carrier is going to decline you, I know not to look at that carrier. Why am I going to put an application for you to get a denial where I have other carriers that I can look at and say, let's go with this one. And sometimes the difference in price is very, not that much. It's very minimal. And so, it's just knowing where to look.
you know. and
That's
having
good
that
to know.
experience-
So you work with a range of carriers.
Yes. And
I
I work for carriers like Mutual of Omaha, John Hancock, Transamerica, AIG. I have, lots of carriers, but I honestly stick to some main ones. There are certain main ones that, as long as I know that your health, because of your health, is good, and based on the questions, I'm going to put you in wherever is the most economical for you, and whichever one provides you the best benefit. Because yeah, I can have 20 carriers, but what's the point? I don't apply to every single carrier to see which is best. I know that if you are in good health, and even if you don't have good health, and you may have something as simple as, perhaps diabetes or high blood pressure, cholesterol, those are not straight out denials. You may be a smoker and think that you can't qualify. That is not a reason to deny. Yeah, and so it's at least what I recommend is giving yourself the opportunity, everyone that's here, to that consultation, because you don't know if you could be having something that's even better than what you have. You know what I mean?
Sign me up.
Rachel, we're gonna towards the end of the show, we have Rachel's contact information, so we will post it on the screen for anyone who's interested. First, we have a comment from Richard. When I mentioned, can you get insurance on a person without them knowing it? He says, how can it be? Look at all these women. Haven't you seen the snap shows where the wives kill the husbands because there's policies in their names and they don't really know it? So that was one of his points. The second one is Brenda came on and she says she's a little late, but she wanted to know, what are your thoughts on life insurance for your children? That's a wonderful question. Very, very good question. I actually, for children, I have a carrier that I even have my daughter on, and she's now an adult, but I got it when she was younger. That, they don't really look for, that's why I want to talk to Francia, because they don't look for too many things when it comes to the children, right? They're not very rigid, right? But the greatest thing about it is that child, when they become adults, there are anniversary dates that child can up the policy up to 5 times more without a medical exam.
Because they already waived it.
Because they're already, exactly.
Their grandfather.
Exactly. And the only thing that would obviously change is the premium, because if you're gonna, get a policy for $50,000, for instance, and now you're bumping it, up to 5 times that, now, of course, the policy is going to be higher, but it's still a whole life. And imagine being 25 years old with a whole life, right? And paying the price of a term life. I really love children's whole life, because they're very inexpensive and they're a great product to have. And you can do
to give them when they turn an adult.
By the way, if you have a grandkid, the mom does not have to do an application for that child. For children's whole life, grandparents can do it on their child, and they can do it from day one. So newborns can get covered.
Beautiful.
That's a very good question. That's awesome.
Yeah, get it, Brenda.
But she said it's wonderful, yes, but it's that her employer is offering it.
So she missed the part where we mentioned that it's better to have a side policy on your own out of your employer. Right. So Brenda, is it Brenda? It's Brenda, yes. Brenda, thank you so much for your questions. It's really great. So having insurance through your job is great. Great. If they offer it to you, I would say still get that, because it's very little and it will come out of your paycheck. A lot of times it's even less than $5. Okay. But you would always want to have something in addition, because, as we were mentioning earlier, that insurance policy is going to be good as long as you remain with that company. Once you're gone, the majority of the companies will terminate that life insurance once you're gone. And so
yes, I would recommend absolutely get it from your employer. But also consider getting something on the side because children's policies are so inexpensive, guys. And I can tell you they're so inexpensive for a lot of coverage. I think we can go up to 40 or 50,000 with Mutual of Omaha. That's the company that I use because they let you uh, multiply that 5 times in anniversary years. I believe it's 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45 or something like that. Every 5 years, you can bump it up. So it's not bad at all. Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
Oh, she said it's $1. So you
Yeah,
said
go for it, Brenda. Honestly, it's
$1.
great.
It's $1.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's very little.
And like
Uh,
Rachel said, ask those questions, right? When you're getting it, like exactly what are you getting it? What stipulations? Can I carry this on after I leave here? You know,
And you're limited. They limit you. Some limit you to like 10,000. So also ask
Correct.
what's the limitation
Mine's the-
Right.
mine's
because when
the
you
best.
have
because you're
your
paying
own,
for it. Mhm.
you have that nice a larger gap where you can get more if you want more, right? So that's something else to keep in mind.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Where are you from, Rachel?
So I live in North Carolina, but originally I'm from Puerto Rico. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but I grew up in Connecticut.
Okay.
So, and I'm now residing in North Carolina. It's been 3 years here.
What part?
I live near Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, that's where my eldest son father lives.
Oh,
No,
nice.
yeah, Riley, or is he in? What's the other?
Charlotte?
Charlotte. Yes, Charlotte.
Charlotte's 2 hours from me.
Okay, wow, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Carolinas are like forever.
Yeah, you're right.
So for those of you that are interested, I just put Rachel's information at the bottom of the screen. There is her phone number and her email address. She is a doll and completely pleasant to work with, and she will literally make loops to make sure that you have a policy that fits you and is affordable to you and works with you.
That's
Thank you,
wonderful.
Lillian. You're making me blush, but thank
Thank
you.
you.
I honestly can say that I will put your best interests, first. I will make sure that we get you something. I can't always guarantee that get approval for everyone, but I know that I can. I will have the resources to help you. If for whatever reason I cannot help you, and perhaps I have a colleague that may have a carrier that may cover you that I don't, I will pass. If the person wants, I will pass you up to someone else because the important thing is that you get coverage. It's not who you get coverage with; it's that you have one, and that's something a Latino community struggles with. Sometimes, I've gone to homes, that there's 4 or 5 policies in place, but the Latino community sometimes feel like, oh, if I think of death, it's, I don't want to get insurance because I don't want to, bring back.
Superstition.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I see that a lot. And so it's sad because then you see all the GoFundMe on Facebook. I see GoFunds almost every day on my Facebook. And it's okay to have it when you need it, but if you have something in place, it's just something that will give you peace of mind.
Absolutely. I know someone that refuses to give to GoFundMe because she said if you were not responsible enough to plan out for your future, I'm not going to be the one to give you the money to bail you out. And
That's
I understand her point of view, but I also understand that it really does fall on our shoulders. It really is our responsibility to make sure that we don't leave people in debt, that our kids are not in debt because we passed away. So these are all things that you have to take into consideration. Like I think about that all the time.
And think about this for a second. Who of us thought, right, that we were going to get hit with a pandemic that was going to cost so much pain, right? To our loved ones, our friends. I've lost friends, people that I've known to COVID. And you just like never know, right? You never know what life can bring us, right? And so, it just gives us the opportunity to really think of these things and really take them into consideration. Because if you have something in place, right, then, like I said earlier, you will be able to grieve and be able to deal with taking care of your family at that moment. When you're going through all that emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, they say, once you're dead, you're dead. You don't feel, you're no longer here. You're no longer, it's who you leave behind. And those are the ones that are gonna suffer. Either obviously your loss, obviously you're not here anymore, but the financial burden, and and it's not, it's something like Lillian said, it's our responsibility, it's our job to make sure that that we invest in that
Absolutely.
peace of mind.
Absolutely.
We have a question, Rachel, and it's from another Rachel. Is there an age limit to get the mortgage protection?
Yes. So some insurances will cover. I believe I have one that's up to age 60, and I think there's another one up to age 61 that would allow you to get even term life, in itself. So yes, there is a limit, and also for the return of premium as well that we mentioned
You
earlier.
called it mortgage?
So mortgage protection is a term that we like to use. It's still life insurance, but it covers your mortgage in case you pass away. That the beneficiary can use those funds to cover the mortgage. So the reason why we call it mortgage protection is because we focus on the amount that you currently have on the mortgage. However, because it's life insurance, we can give you more or apply for more, right? And the other benefit is because it acts as a life insurance, if you were to sell that home, you would not lose that insurance because it's not attached to that specific mortgage. It's just, like I said, a term that we use to be able to protect your family in case that happens so that they don't lose your home.
So is that a condition? So in other words, if you were to pass away, then that mortgage term insurance will cover the mortgage.
So it's not in other words, if I'm understanding correctly, we don't have to tell the insurance or specify that it's only for the mortgage. You will still have a death benefit, right? And your beneficiary will collect that amount at the end. So even like I was saying earlier, I'm not sure this is when you were probably away. Even if your mortgage is, say, $50,000 less, you will still get the full amount of what you apply for instead of what you owe on the mortgage. It's just as an agent looking into your situation, and perhaps you have already life insurance and say, well, I'm covered for that, but I don't want my family to tap into that and lose my house. What can I do, Rachel, to get mortgage protection? Let's focus on the mortgage.
So it's kind of including that expense.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So Richard's last comment is he's going to haunt everyone to let them know that he's still here. Death doesn't matter.
I love Richard. He's definitely your son. I have to meet him. Wow, he's definitely your son.
Yeah. He said he's gonna haunt everyone.
Yeah, he said, I'm haunting everyone to let them know I'm still here. Death doesn't matter. We're talking about life insurance. Well, Rachel, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today. It was super informative, and I really hope people take advantage of reaching out to her. As she's helping you, she doesn't charge to help you. So please take advantage of it. Her phone number are on the screen and her email is on the screen. Rachel, any last words?
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. You guys made me feel as if I was home, and I thank you for the opportunity. Again, I'm here for all of you, and really, really think of it. And if you have questions, please reach out to me, even if I am not the type of person that's going to pressure you to do anything. I will answer any questions that you may have. The best thing for me is to text me, because as you can imagine, I may be with someone at the moment. But I always tell everyone, if I don't answer within 24 hours, that means I'm dead. So I am very good with that. I will respond, but the best thing for me is a text, because if you ask me something, I can just reply if I'm in the middle of anything, and we can, So don't feel that you're obligated to get a policy through me or whatever. If you want to know your options, if you want to see, if this is something for you, please feel free. I'm here for you, and I'm good friends with Lillian, so know that, I will make sure I take care of you, is what I'm saying. She's a good friend. She's like a sister to me. So I'll make sure. And if I don't, I'm sure Lillian will hear it.
I'll let her know. Thank you, Rachel, for joining us.
So much, Rachel.
Topic. We're going to have you back again. Okay.
Thank you. Anytime. Thank you. Okay. And if you need it in Spanish, I may, my words may, stumble a little bit because of the terminology, but I'll be more than happy to help our Spanish speaking folks, because
that's wonderful.
Latinas,
yes.
We have to
help.
We
will help you. We will help you. We help each other over here. We're like, how do you say that word again? Okay, we got it.
Absolutely. Okay, it was a pleasure meeting you as well, ladies. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I will definitely be giving you a call, Rachel.
Okay. Thank you, Francia. Take care.
Good night. All right, so that about wraps up our evening. I hope you guys got a lot of good information out of that. She is really amazing. She's so informative. When I was shopping, she definitely gave me my options. And if you think if it's too expensive, she will continue to work with you and work numbers until she finds something that you are comfortable with. So I highly recommend her. So from me to you, remember, you are loved, you are amazing, you are exceptional. Ajusta that corona and keep it moving.
And from me, remember, just breathe in all the beauty and breathe out all the bullshit. Namaste.
And for me, do everything you do with intention, with purpose. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.